This video is brought to you by AccraGhana.com. It is a website that is dedicated to the capital city of Ghana, the Greater Accra, researching about Accra, writing about Accra, publishing content about Accra, and creating simple, short, amazing videos about the capital city of Ghana, Accra. So welcome again to another video episode. Well, this is our podcast. You can think of this as a podcast. What we used to do is we write an article. This is an article that we wrote based on our research and which we conducted. And after writing this article, we send the article to a voiceover artist, usually someone with an American accent, which is something that is a lot more acceptable. A lot of people prefer that. And then they'll read it. When they're done, send the audio to us, and we send it to a voiceover. No, we send it to a video editor, and the video editor will also do their magic by taking everything and turning it into a video. Like a video like this, for example, like this one, like Accra, life in Accra, right? Like this one, for example, right?
Accra-Ghana.com,
Right?
dedicated to the capital city of Ghana, Accra.
And then we realized that, wait a minute, right? I'm passionate about Accra. I love Accra. But then at the same time, I really hate everything that is happening in Accra to Accra. And one of our associates, who is an assistant, said to me, why don't we should start something like a podcast, instead of just sending everything to a voiceover artist and a video editor, just screen record everything, right? Just read the article, right? Read the article and express your views about what you think. And then let's think about what we can do with it, and then share it on YouTube. And let's see how people will respond to it, right? If you like it, great. You can comment, you can like, you can subscribe, you can share with your friends, and then we'll do a lot more. So, housing in Accra. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to read the article, and then add my own comment. And if you like it, really great. We'll do a lot more. If you don't like it, we'll change it, and we'll start using the American guy and also the video editor and create all kinds of editing and animation that can fascinate and intrigue you. So the first thing that we're going to be doing, of course, we're going to be talking about housing in Accra. So we'll talk about, number one, types of housing in Accra, and then we'll talk about locations, and we'll talk about cost of housing also in Accra. And then we'll also talk about the rental market, which is literally like Wall Street, cutthroat, if you will. Okay, you can be easily scammed, and you know what I mean. We're going to also be talking about how safe and reliable it is, and then we'll talk about property ownership. That is, if you happen to be a foreigner, you're going to Ghana to try to own property. Well, that's something that I think we have to address. And then also infrastructure, which I think this is not an area that I think most African cities put a lot of effort or invest into. Infrastructure and amenities, that's something that we're going to cover. And then we'll talk about number 7. We'll talk about the challenges and also the difficulties that you're going to encounter when you move to Accra looking for housing or accommodation. And then finally, the conclusion, also the reminder. And then we'll get you to also promote your business if you own a business. Okay, this is one of the coolest places where you can promote your business or your organization or product or service, or if you want to if you really want to sponsor this video or sponsor the website, we will like to work with you. So the first thing that we're going to look at is, of course, we're looking at housing in Accra. And we have accommodation, which is also a topic that we cover. Okay, decent accommodation in Ghana is something that all of us really want that for every Ghanaian. It is another issue to worry about, or is it something that is affordable, right? It should be affordable, it should be available. I think it's something that I think every Ghanaian should have, decent accommodation. And if it is not affordable, okay, is it also accessible to most of the population in Ghana or in Accra? I call them citizens, okay? And where is even the best place to live in Accra? So that's one of the categories, which is accommodation. And then we have also Accra, the city, okay? What is Accra, for example? There are a lot of people who have no idea where Accra is located. Okay, Accra, Ghana, of course, it is a nation in West Africa. Okay, and it has Accra as its capital city, and it is Ghana's largest city and the seat of the country's government and economy. Right, with a population of nearly 2 million. Well, according to research, I think it could be higher, it could be lower. And Accra is a city on the Gulf of Guinea. Okay? Guinea coast. So that's one of the categories, which is Accra. And of course, we have Ghana. Okay? Ghana, which we haven't written anything. This is something that I think we're going to spend some time to write. Right? The really cool thing about Ghana is that it is a republic, right? We have to write a lot more and add a lot more content to it. And then we have housing, right? Now, housing is a global issue. It's not because of lack of land. Ghana has enough land, right? So what is the problem? When you move to almost every city, you look at most cities, they have the same crappy problems when it comes to housing, providing their citizens with decent housing. Partly because you have capitalism, and you also have Airbnb, okay, stepping in, interrupting everything, and hijacking everybody, and literally starving everyone and getting people to become overnight. They become money hungry, right? So adequate housing for most Ghanaians is one of our goals on AccraGhana.com. And it is a very big issue. In fact, this is a crisis. It's a huge one. And especially in the capital city of Ghana, which is Accra. Lack of affordable housing. You can have, I personally believe that in Accra, there are houses everywhere that are mostly empty. And they're waiting for someone to book on Airbnb to come in and just stay there for during the weekend, and which is, I think, the dark side or the ugly side of capitalism, right? And it is a crisis. And lack of affordable housing for the majority of Ghanaians is one of the issues that I think bothers me a lot and bothers a lot of people in Ghana and about Ghana, also around the world. And so, and then we talk about people, right? One of our goals, okay, here is also to talk about the people in Accra, the locals. I'm not talking about the expatriates. I'm not talking about the diasporas like us who grew up in America, in Europe, in England, in other places, and we come in and we are freaking corrupt. We're corrupt because overseas, in Europe and America, everything is handed to us, right? So we come in and we are like the tourist. We are like a tourist, and the tourist is a fool, literally, right? If something is one city, what do you tell the tourist? You could tell the tourist that, hey, this is 3 cities, this is 5 cities. And the tourist, because the tourist is a fool, he will calculate everything. We calculate everything inside our heads and then convert it to euros, to pound sterling, and to the US dollar, and we think is cheap, and then we pay it, right? And over time, what really happens is that as we come in, we are not the locals, right? And then we also have the expatriates. It's almost like Accra is not being built for people, but not for the local. But what we really want to do is that we want to see Accra being built for the locals, for the indigenous people, right? For the natives, for the citizens, I call them. So the people, I know the people of Accra. I do. Okay, Accra, I used to say Accra used to be a city when I was growing up. It is no longer a city. It is now a market. And it's no longer owned by even Ghanaians. On the surface on the surface level, it looks like it's owned by Ghanaians, by the government. Okay, if you're relying on the World Bank and IMF, you have no country, right? So the people of Accra are absolutely friendly. They're welcoming, right? Do they have access to public services, or do they have to bribe? Recently, we did a video where you literally have to bribe for public services, right? And here's also one of the questions. Do you have to bribe? Another question is, are they safe, right? If so, why do you have gated communities everywhere, right? If Accra is a very safe place, you shouldn't have gated communities. You shouldn't have walls. And how about housing? That's one of the questions, right? Can most locals, most citizens of Accra, most Ghanaians afford decent homes? This is a podcast, right? As we like to say, instead of just doing videos the way that everybody does videos on YouTube. How about income? Do they have enough income? Does everyone have income in Ghana, in Accra? If the answer is no, then Accra or Ghana has a problem. Which social problem? The most Ghanaians, most citizens of Ghana have not only a universal income, but also healthcare, right? This is the Ghana that I would like to see. This is the Accra that I would like to see. So let's get into the video. Housing in Accra. So let's read along. If you were to do a little bit of research, okay, or you have somebody, you hire someone, a freelance writer to write for you or for your website about housing in Accra, this is what you're going to get, okay? Like, let's read it. Housing in Accra, Ghana, varies widely in terms of price, style, and of course, location. Accra, being the capital city of Ghana and one of the largest cities in West Africa, offers a wide range of housing options to cater to different preferences and budgets. Here are some key important points to consider about housing in Accra, Ghana. It is really true that if you read this wouldn't tell you anything about what is happening on the ground. What is happening on the ground, of course, is all about prices, right? It's about prices, it's about style, and it's also about location. I will tell you that where Accra is right now, Accra is still a developing city. Okay, you should not be worrying so much about style. You should be building decent homes for the locals. Build houses that are simple, they are minimalistic, not luxury homes, but houses that can last, right? So, and the second thing that you have to worry about if you're going to go to Accra and look for decent housing is, of course, type of housing, right? In Accra, this article says, this book says, you can find various types of housing, including apartments. I think I am a huge supporter of apartments. Like, you could build the type of apartment that are being built like in China and be able to host almost every citizen in Accra, right? Before you start hosting all these African Americans, British Americans, European, British Africans that are coming back home the diasporas, before you start hosting us, right? Build decent homes for the locals so that when a white man or a white woman comes to Ghana, they look around, oh my God, these people are taking care of their people, partly because everyone has a decent home, right? But if you're building all these crappy luxury homes and luxury apartments with the help of Airbnb, and you're providing them to only expatriates, they are nothing but immigrants. They're just immigrants with money or with jobs. Okay? They're immigrants, right? But I don't know why they call themselves expats. I guess you can use different words to manipulate the mind, right? So you can find different types of houses in Accra, including apartments, detached houses, semi-detached houses, townhouses, and gated communities. To tell you the truth, I hate gated communities. Okay? The reason why I hate gated communities, I think gated communities are just another form of segregation. And you know how Africans hate segregation. We hate segregation if the segregation is between white people and black people, right? But you go to a place like Accra, or you go to any of these African cities, like you go to Nigeria, you go to Lagos, you go to Kenya, gated communities are everywhere. Gated communities are just symbols of deeper problems, deeper social issues. Why do you need gated communities? Because if you don't gate your communities, somebody is going to come in to break into your house. What will cause them to do that? Right? And I'm not a big fan. I look forward to when there won't be gated communities in any African cities, including Accra. So let's go ahead. Right. So, and gated communities and the style and size of the houses that, come vary significantly from modest single bedroom apartments to luxurious villas. Okay, let's talk about this luxurious villas that you see everywhere. It's almost like Africans have become obsessed with luxury, even though we haven't built decent houses to accommodate our people. We're building and investing in luxury homes, luxury apartments. And that's how our children are growing up, okay? Americanized, Europeanized, right? They want luxury villas, right? And luxury villas are just, and luxury apartments or luxury homes, they're just nothing but waste of resources. The same resources that are used to build most of these luxury homes and luxury apartments, that most of them are empty. They're just waiting for some foreigner to come in, some diaspora to come in and spread their cash, right? Their US dollars, their euros, their pound sterling. Okay, it is a shame, right? I would like to see basic, decent, affordable homes that are affordable to every Ghanaian, every citizen. Well, if you're coming from Europe, right, you should also be able to live there. Now, let's talk about number 2, the second housing crisis, I think, which is also location. Like everything is built on location, right? If you read this article will tell you that Accra is divided into several neighborhoods and districts, which is really true, right? Like you have, I don't know why they didn't include places like Nima and Jamestown, right? And I know so many Ghanaians, especially the generation, they hate it when Westerners show ghettos or slums right? But that's because they exist. That's because they exist in Accra, they exist in Lagos, they exist in Nairobi, right? So, and if they didn't exist, nobody will care. No journalist from the West will come in and be able to shoot those areas. And I think they are also examples of how African cities have actually failed because they're trying to catch up with Western cities. You know, I like to joke about how Accra is like they're trying to build another Dubai in Accra, which is something that I really hate to see, because Dubai is a casino. Literally, it is a casino. Where do they get the idea? Where do you think where do you think they got the idea? From Las Vegas, right? Where did Las Vegas get the idea? From Monaco, from Monte Carlo, right? So build a place where only wealthy people can just come in, and you have all these hundreds of people, thousands of people serving only one person, right? They call them creating jobs. Okay, Accra, if you go to Accra, I haven't been to Accra in a very, very long time, but if you go to Accra, you look around, you see jobs everywhere. I don't know why these politicians are just like complaining about how they can't create jobs, right? Now, let's continue with this article. Accra is divided into several neighborhoods and districts, each with its own unique characteristics and price ranges. Some popular residential areas in Accra include East Legon, Airport Residential Area, Cantonment, Laboni, and Osu. These areas are known for their relatively upscale, like upscale housing options, right? This is where the rich live, right? Or where the rich hide. Okay, good infrastructure and proximity to amenities such as schools, shopping malls, and restaurants. I will tell you something. I used to work in an IT engineering company here in the Netherlands. I worked there for like 5 years. One of the things that we did was city planning. When you plan a neighborhood, you want to include all these amenities that you're talking about, right? Otherwise, you don't do it. You want to include all of these. Like you include schools in every neighborhood, not one school, but a lot of schools in every, they call it community, right? And then shopping malls and restaurants and bus stops and tram stops and train stations and shops. So basically, what they're saying is that these upscale housing options, they have good infrastructure. Good infrastructure should be everywhere in Ghana. Okay, it tells you a lot about how these politicians, these lazy politicians in Africa, okay, in most countries, they haven't done their jobs. They haven't done their tasks. Okay, I think it is one of the reasons why you see so many neighborhoods that are segregated or they are gated, because if almost every neighborhood is decent and affordable, right, there's no need for you to gate your community, right? So basically, these three areas that they're talking about, like East Legon, as if every Ghanaian should be able to afford to live in East Legon, right? There is a way to build a city. It's not the way that most cities are construct or plan their cities. Most cities are built for cars, for the rich, and also for expatriates, for the tourists. Okay, one of the worst things about Accra is that it's almost like Accra is being built, planned for the tourists. Okay, from Europe, from America, come and spend your money. That's why I'm not a big fan of this year of return. I think it's probably one of the worst things that has ever happened to Ghana. Right, you can see all the countries around in Africa, they're just like copying it. Right, and when we leave Europe, we live in America. When we depart, when we come to Africa, what do we come to do? We come there to build luxury. We're not coming there to say, we don't have great infrastructure. Let's build great infrastructure. Let's create jobs, right? I'm talking about the kind of jobs that are there, they are available. For example, like cleaning the streets, like making sure that every Ghanaian has access to clean drinking water, access to light, electricity. Electricity is a Stone Age technology. Or access to, for example, medical care, right? In case if something happens to you, or in case if you get sick. So let's move on to where most Ghanaians are left behind, which is the cost of housing, right? The cost of housing. The cost of housing, which is number 3 problem that you're going to encounter if you ever go to Ghana. Like you find yourself in Accra and you're just looking for a place to live. The cost of housing in Accra can be relatively high compared to other cities in Ghana, particularly in upscale neighborhoods and gated communities. Rental prices and property values vary depending on factors such as location. Again, the location. Okay, you pay so much for just location, size, amenities, and proximity to essential services. Every neighborhood should have essential services. So generally, housing in prime areas. Prime literally means crime, right? It's another way. We're just talking to someone about Amazon Prime, right? Amazon Prime, it has this hidden system where it just scams its customers, right? You call it prime areas like Airport Residential Area and East Legon. It tends to be more expensive compared to other parts of the city of Accra. Now, the cost. I've heard so many people, personally, I think comparatively Accra is even more expensive than many European cities. Okay, because if you look at many European cities, at least they are located in countries that have very high per capita income, right? If you take a country like the Netherlands, they have like $60,000, $62,000. Accra is just like a couple of thousands. So which means the average Ghanaian cannot even be able to afford to live in Accra. Like Accra is literally built for Westerners, for the rich, for the elite, for the diasporas, right? For the politicians, or for the lazy politicians, right? And it is sad, literally sad. I think if I look at some of the hotels in Accra, and I think about someone who is a cleaner, someone who is a driver, someone who is a construction worker, who is building most of these houses in Accra, or someone who is a carpenter, someone who is a plumber, they should be able to afford to at least spend a weekend in Novotel. like in Accra. But it's almost like all of these places are there for foreigners like us. You know, if I come to Accra, I could be able to afford to live there, but why the hell would I want to live there? Like, it's relatively more expensive than Europe, right? All of these facilities or amenities should be built or created for the locals. So if you are moving to Ghana, the cost of housing can be really, really high, right? Imagine there are apartments that are being rented out for $300, $400. We have a friend here who owns a house, and he built this boys' quarters that he was renting out for $400. I said, this is in Accra. How much is somebody earning? How much? What is the minimum monthly wage? The average monthly wage is about $200, $300, $400. Yeah. So let's take a look at number 4 thing. That the number 4 housing crisis that you're going to have to worry about when you go to Ghana, right? If you're going there to look for housing, which is the rental market. The rental market in Accra, it is like Wall Street. You want to see inflation, you want to see overpricing, ridiculously overvalued, cutthroat, the rental market in Accra. Let's read this article. The rental market in Accra is quite active. What does active mean? Which means so many things are happening. You think, I would expect that active means that they're building new houses, and then if you leave school, right, even before you get a job, or even if you don't have a job, or there will always be some kind of job for you, right? The government can step in because you happen to be a Ghanaian, and the resources also belongs to you. The resources do not only belong to the politicians and the families or the chiefs. You can have at least a small amount of money to take care of yourself until you find yourself a very good job, so that you can be able to rent a very decent home, right? I would expect active means that you're building houses for the locals, not for tourists, not for diasporas, right? Not for the year of return, right? So let's read this. The rental market in Accra is quite active with many, again, expatriates. These are immigrants who came in with money, right? Okay, immigrants. Expatriates are nothing but immigrants. And professionals, they say, and students seeking accommodation in the city of Accra. Rental properties are typically available on both short-term and long-term basis. Now, short-term, we talked about Airbnb earlier. Airbnb is probably one of the worst things that has ever happened to Africa, to Ghana, to Accra, okay? Some countries are beginning to wake up. For example, like my adopted country, the Netherlands. Amsterdam was one of the first cities that look at Airbnb to say, hey, these Americans, they're just coming in to disrupt and hijack our market. We haven't been able to provide enough housing to our people. And you know what they did? They placed a limit on Airbnb. So which means if you own a home and you have maybe a couple of rooms to rent, there is a limit. There is a limit to the number of days that you can rent in a year, right? So I think it's about 30 days a year. Why are they doing that? So that they can limit the power or the control of Airbnb. Mind you, Airbnb is not an African company. It's an American company. It is a capitalist company. And it is not even a property company, right? The only thing that they have is a platform. It's a technology. It's an IT company. It's a high-tech company. Right? The only thing that they provide is they provide the technology, which means this is really, really interesting. What makes it interesting is that because if I have the technology, I can just be able to disrupt the Ghanaian market and take control of it. And here's what I think it's really, really fascinating. Airbnb is the largest real estate company in the world, even though it doesn't own any real estate. How is that possible? How is that possible that somebody who doesn't own any real estate can be the largest real estate company? It's almost like if you go back to 400 years ago, right? Europeans came to Africa, and what did they do? Right? They own almost everything, right? They took all the people, and they still control most. If you go to Nigeria, Shell is owned by the Netherlands, right? And they have like a very large stake. They benefit a lot more than the locals in Nigeria. Okay, imagine a country that has oil and they still import oil, right? Delta State is a region, one of the wealthiest regions in the world, and you're still with the poorest people. Airbnb is the same thing, right? But there are certain countries that are smarter, right? Like you look at the Dutch market, you're just like, holy crap, these people, these Americans are just coming in to hijack our market, okay? They're going to price out, because what started happening is that they noticed that they were really pricing out the locals, right? The tourists will come in, they want short term, maybe just weekends. So you have people that have homes with a lot of rooms, which I'm sure Accra is the same thing. You can leave a comment. And most of these houses were just like empty. And they're renting this apartment out to the tourists, to the Chinese, okay? People who have the money to pay, and they're paying ridiculous amount of money. In Spain, it was the same thing, and the locals don't even have homes. And if I look at Africa, I look at a place like Ghana. Ghana is just like embracing Airbnb. Almost everybody is just like building houses and they're turning into Airbnb. Can't you see what is really happening? Airbnb is probably the worst thing that has ever happened to Africa, to Ghana, and to Accra. Okay, and it's going to get only worse. Now, let's continue reading. Now, it is advisable, this article says, the article that we wrote, okay, with the help of our writers, it is advisable to work with a reputable real estate agent or property management company to find suitable rental accommodation in Accra, Ghana. Now, reputable, where are you going to find that in Accra, right? Are you going to be scammed? Possibly. We've heard stories about people being scammed. We have a friend. The friend has a wife, born in Ghana in Volta region, and she came here when she was really young. She came to the Netherlands, and then she got married. She had 2 kids, and her parents were at that time living in Ghana. She decided that she was going to go to Ghana and build a house. So she went there and she said, look, I want to buy a piece of land, right? Before she realized she was scammed, right? And then she said, well, maybe I shouldn't buy land. I shouldn't buy a piece of land, right? So let me buy a property that is already built. So she found a property management company, construction company, that said they were going to buy land and design everything and plan everything and build everything for her. So this is the amount of money that she was going to pay. And she paid, I think, 1/3 of it, and she was scammed. And then when her mother died, and then her father died, she just decided, I don't want to move to Ghana. I don't want to go and live in Ghana. Right? I was scammed twice. I'm not going to allow myself to be scammed 3 times. So this is advisable to anyone, right, who is going to Ghana to look at the rental market. You have to be careful. Like really, really be careful. You cannot trust anyone, right? Which is really the truth. Number 5. Property ownership. This is another problem too that you're going to encounter if your goal is to own property in Ghana, right? If you're a foreigner, foreigners, of course, are allowed to own property in Ghana, including in Accra. However, there are some restrictions and regulations governing property ownership by non-citizens. It is essential to seek legal advice and understand the requirements and procedures for acquiring property in Ghana. If you are a foreigner, especially if you are a foreigner interested in purchasing real estate in Accra, Ghana, which advice? Owning property in Ghana is not as simple as you think. It's not like in the West. It's not like in America or maybe in Europe where there are systems in place where you have very good regulations that really work, or you have institutions that can protect you, right? Owning properties in Ghana can be really, really tricky. There are horrible stories everywhere on the internet, and we've published some of them. Land scamming, property scamming, right? And now we're talking about 50 years. You can only own land for 50 years. And after the 50 years, what is going to happen? Right? This is like international law. Somebody was just saying that Nigeria used to, it was borrowed from the colonial masters, the British. But Nigeria being smart enough, they got rid of it. But Ghana is still using the quote-unquote the international law, which means you buy land and it's limited to only 50 years. So which means, and there were stories about people who, after maybe a couple of decades, 20 years, the chiefs will come back and say, your time is up. And if you're not moving, we are going to move your house. We're going to move you, or we're going to move your things, or we're going to break down your property. So this is something that I think you have to be very careful. So you have to get a very good lawyer, legal team to step in and protect you. Number 6. This is the number 6 problem that you're going to encounter, which is infrastructure and amenities. It's not like in Europe. Accra is still a developing city, right? A very large part of it is not really developed properly. That's the truth, right? So you may find yourself in Accra and you're looking for so many things and they are not available, or they're available but at even higher price than Europe or in America. Now, number 6, infrastructure and amenities. According to this article that we wrote, Accra has seen significant infrastructural development in recent years, with improved road networks, utilities, and public services. Many neighborhoods in Accra have access to amenities such as supermarkets, schools, hospitals, recreational facilities, and banking services. Is it true? And how do we know? I've had friends who went to Accra, who went to Ghana for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They come back and they have like a different story. Yes, some significant changes, some development has actually taken place. There have been some upgrades, road networks, but there's still huge traffic. Utilities, when we talk about utilities, we're talking about water and electricity. It's not like in America. It's not like in Britain. It's not like in Europe. Mind you, Accra is still located in a developing country, right? So if you're going to go to Accra, move to Accra, you have to become aware of the fact that infrastructure may not be there. Amenities may not be there. If you ever find an area with very good, slightly good infrastructure, like in England, they have some of the areas in England, you end up paying a lot. Or like even in America, they have projects. You end up paying a lot of money. So number seven is the number seven thing that you have to worry about if you're going to go to Ghana and look for housing, which is challenges and difficulties. This is something that I think you should expect in every city. So let's continue with the challenges and difficulties that you're going to encounter when you go to Accra. According to this article, according to what we wrote, despite the improvement in infrastructure, Accra still faces challenges such as traffic congestion, inadequate housing supply, and occasional power outages. These factors can affect the overall livability and convenience of certain areas in the city of Accra, which is really true. If you are someone who is accustomed to some of the facilities in Europe, in America, and you go to Accra, of course you're going to see some improvement. If the last time you were in Accra was like 5 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, there's some improvement. But is it good enough? Not really. Okay. I mean, if Accra is going to be a city that is overly expensive, ridiculously overpriced, overvalued, and comparatively even more expensive than so many developed countries, right? Then I think Accra should get its act together, provide very good infrastructure, provide security, provide power, 24 hours, reliable, consistent power, right? The traffic congestion, okay, reduce it. How do you even reduce traffic congestion? How do you do that, right? Do you do that just by building more roads? Of course not. No, you don't do that, okay? That system or that approach does not reduce traffic. It's something that I think we have to create some other content about it, because we do have a category about traffic. And how about inadequate or housing supply? How do you do that? Do you do that by building more and more luxurious villas and apartments? Of course not. And how about power outages? Right? How does a city deal, they say occasional instead of consistent or frequent, right? So how do you reduce all this? You reduce this by getting, I've always said that if you have access to the sunlight, you have electricity. If you have access to rivers, okay, lakes, you have electricity. If you have access to wind, you have electricity. And Ghana has all of these. So what is wrong? Okay, what is really missing? That means the politicians have not been doing their job, right? And these factors can dramatically affect the way that you live in Accra. So, and I think so much has actually been invested in Accra in terms of building skyscrapers, which I'm not a big fan of skyscrapers. I used to be when I was younger, but I think the idea that Accra wants to build another Dubai, okay, is laughable. Accra is not Dubai. Accra is not New York. Okay? Accra is not Amsterdam, it's not Paris. Stop emulating this city. These cities are out of control. They are corrupt. Right? But if you could build like a decent cities, a decent capital city that can accommodate and take care of its citizens, the locals, then we have something. This is something that I'm actually looking forward to. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is, of course, the conclusion and the reminder. Okay, conclusion and reminder, right? According to this article that we wrote, overall, housing in Accra, Ghana offers a diverse range of options to suit different preferences and budgets. That is, of course, if you have money. If you have money, Accra is the best place to live. Africa is the best place to live because there's so many people who do not have enough money. So many people are struggling. So you probably get all the respect that you need. In Europe, in America, who cares? You have money and so what, right? But if you are poor, like Kenyans will say poor, right? Africa is the worst place to live, literally. So you may as well just move, get out, right? Go somewhere where you can get a job, okay, make a living, get a decent housing, right? Get access to electricity, access to healthcare, access to education for your children, right? And let's continue. According to this article, whether you are looking for a luxurious villa, what is it about villa that Africans are so like obsessed? Like villa, right? Anyway, luxurious villa in a gated community. Again, lack of security has created a lot of gated communities, or a more affordable apartment in a bustling neighborhood. You are likely to find something that meets your needs in this vibrant West African city we call Accra, or the greater Accra. So it is literally true, right? But I think what I would like to see is, I would like to see a city that is built for locals, is built for humans, not for cars, okay, not for the rich, not for tourists. That's what I want for Accra. That's what I want for the citizens of Accra, as I would like to call them. And I'm looking forward to it. And we have come to the end of this article, and we have a special bonus for those of you who own websites, you have business, you have non-profit organization, you have something that you want to promote, or even social media platforms. Okay, you can click this button, was specifically designed for you to promote your business on this page. So all you need to do is for you to click, and it will take you to our contact page where you can contact us. You enter your first name, email address, and then your message, right? Of course, you're going to have to check this box to verify that you are not a robot, and then submit, right? And then that's it. If you want to sponsor this whole page, right, you can contact us, which means you own a piece of property for a year. We can negotiate, and you can be part of this community, which means you place the name of your company, your product, your brand, your services, your non-profit organization, whatever is it that you want to promote will be here. This page will be for you. Who else would like to sponsor this page? So thank you very much for listening, for watching this podcast. This is our first podcast. If you like it, you can leave your comment below. Tell us what you think. We are just experimenting with this, and if we We have a lot of people that really like this type of long, intricate, conversational podcast rather than the short videos. Okay, we'll create more and more of it, and you can leave your comment, you can like, you can push the notification button, and you can also share this podcast with all your friends on social media to promote and support this website and this project that we are doing specifically for Accra, Ghana. And you can disagree and also agree. Debate is really fine as long as there is no insult, right? And remember to sponsor this page. So thank you very much. I'm coming to you from AccraGhana.com, a website that is dedicated to the capital city of Ghana. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself. Until next time. This video is brought to you by AccraGhana.com. It is a website that is dedicated to the capital city of Ghana, the Greater Accra. Researching about Accra, writing about Accra, publishing content about Accra, and creating simple, short, amazing videos about the capital city of Ghana, Accra. So welcome again to another video episode.